Imagine this. A world-renowned black neurosurgeon and CEO dressed in a tailored suit boards a first-class flight to secure a game-changing deal for her company. Hours later, she's dragged off the plane in handcuffs, blood dripping from her wrist, humiliated in front of hundreds as smartphones capture every moment. Why? Because a flight attendant decided a black woman didn't belong in first class. But here's where the story takes a jaw-dropping turn. Dr. Imani Reynolds didn't just fight back. She pulled a $4 billion deal from the airline, sparking a movement that changed an industry forever. This isn't just a story of injustice. It's a masterclass in resilience, strategy, and the power of standing up to systemic racism. Where are you watching from today, and have you ever witnessed discrimination disguised as policy? Drop a comment with 1 if you faced it yourself or 2 if you've seen it happen to someone else. Hit that like button if you believe in fighting for justice. And subscribe to join us for more stories that inspire change. Dr. Imani Reynolds was no stranger to breaking barriers. As the founder and CEO of MedTech Innovations, she turned a small biotech startup into a $47 billion powerhouse revolutionizing cancer treatment. On the morning of her fateful flight, she sat in her Boston office, the city skyline glittering behind her, preparing for a pivotal meeting in San Francisco. This wasn't just any meeting. It was the culmination of 15 years of sleepless nights, groundbreaking research, and overcoming skepticism as a black woman in medicine and business. Her company was on the verge of securing $10 billion in funding, including a $4 billion partnership with American Skyways to modernize their fleet. Imani's assistant, Angela, handed her the travel itinerary. First class on American Skyways Flight 3429, a luxury hotel suite, and a car service waiting as FO. Imani nodded, slipping her Harvard Medical School diploma and Mayo Clinic residency certificate into her briefcase, credentials that opened doors but never fully shielded her from prejudice. She glanced at her custom Swiss watch, a gift from a client who served presidents. Her tailored suit, her poise, her achievements, they were her armor, carefully constructed to navigate a world that often judged her before she spoke. American Skyways confirmed our meeting next week? Imani asked. Angela nodded. They're eager. This deal's their biggest private investment this year. Imani allowed herself a small smile. American Skyways needed her company's innovation to survive their financial woes. But as she boarded the plane the next morning, she had no idea the next 4 hours would test her strength like never before. Settling into seat 2A in first class, Imani exuded quiet confidence. Her presence commanded respect, but not everyone saw it that way. The flight attendant, Brenda, moved through the cabin with efficiency, her smile warm for the white businessman across the aisle, whom she called Sir, unprompted. When she reached Imani, her smile tightened. Something to drink, she asked, barely making eye contact. Sparkling water, please, Imani replied politely. 20 minutes later, every first-class passenger had been served, except Imani. She pressed the call button. Brenda returned, her apology dripping with insincerity. Sorry for the wait, she said, handing over a glass with a curt nod. The businessman across the aisle, already on his second scotch, received another warm smile from Brenda. Imani noticed but said nothing, focusing instead on her presentation materials, months of research for her San Francisco investors. Then, disaster struck. As Brenda pushed the beverage cart past Imani's seat, it accidentally bumped her elbow, sending a pot of scalding coffee crashing onto her meticulously prepared documents. Oh, Brenda gasped, making no move to help as the liquid soaked through pages representing millions in research. My mistake. The businessman across the aisle looked up, his eyes narrowing at the obvious slight. Imani, trained by years of microaggressions, kept her composure. Could I please have some napkins? She asked evenly. Brenda shrugged. We're running low, I'll check. She walked away without urgency, leaving Imani to watch coffee drip onto her Louboutin heels. The businessman silently handed her his cocktail napkins, their eyes meeting in mutual understanding of the injustice they'd witnessed. As Brenda continued ignoring Imani, the cabin's atmosphere grew tense. Imani pressed the call button again, determined to maintain professionalism. The businessman shook his head slightly, acknowledging the pattern of neglect. Imani's mind flashed to her childhood in Baltimore, where her mother's words echoed. Your composure is your power, baby girl. Never let them see you break. That lesson had carried her through medical school, where she was mistaken for janitorial staff, and boardrooms, where investors overlooked her for her white male colleagues. Today, it would guide her again. The situation escalated when the businessman spoke up. Excuse me, he said, addressing Brenda as she passed with cookies for other passengers. This lady's been waiting for assistance for nearly half an hour. That's not acceptable. Brenda's smile vanished. Sir, please return to your seat. Interfering with crew duties is disruptive behavior. The threat was clear. The businessman sat down, shooting Imani an apologetic glance. Moments later, the cabin speakers crackled. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Richard Sullivan. We've received reports of disruptive behavior in the cabin. Interfering with flight crew is a federal offense. Let's ensure a peaceful journey to San Francisco. All eyes turned to Imani's section. She felt the weight of assumption settle over her, but she kept her expression neutral, opening her laptop to salvage her presentation. Brenda whispered to colleagues, glancing at Imani with thinly veiled disdain. Imani overheard her mutter, always making everything about race, followed by stifled laughter. Determined to address the mistreatment, Imani pressed the call button again. After a 25-minute wait, Brenda appeared, sighing dramatically. Yes? I'd like to speak with the head flight attendant, Imani said calmly. I am the head flight attendant, Brenda snapped. Then I'd like to register a complaint about the service I've received, Imani continued. Brenda's voice rose, loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. Ma'am, I need you to lower your voice and watch your tone. Threatening flight crew is unacceptable. Imani hadn't raised her voice. I'm not threatening anyone, she replied, aware of Brenda's performance. I'm expressing concern. This is exactly what I'm talking about, Brenda interrupted, hands on hips. This aggressive behavior cannot continue. The accusation stung, but Imani stayed composed. Have you ever been unfairly labeled as aggressive for simply standing up for yourself? Drop a 1 in the comments if you faced this, or a 2 if you've seen it happen. Hit like if you believe everyone deserves dignity, and subscribe for more stories of resilience. Unbeknownst to Imani, Brenda had retreated to the galley, penning a wildly exaggerated incident report. Female passenger into a repeatedly disrupted service, used threatening language, and showed signs of potential intoxication. Recommend security meet aircraft upon arrival. A younger flight attendant, Tyler, questioned her, but Brenda dismissed him. She sent the report to ground operations, setting a trap. As the flight descended, a black woman from coach whispered to Imani, "They've called security to meet the plane because of you." Imani's stomach dropped. She emailed her assistant, Angela, alerting her legal team and instructing her CFO to reconsider the American Skyways deal. As the plane landed, Captain Sullivan's voice crackled again. All passengers remain seated until security personnel have completed their duties. 3 security officers boarded, their hands near their weapons. Brenda pointed at Imani. Seat 2A. She's been hostile the entire flight. The officers approached, their footsteps heavy. Ma'am, gather your belongings and come with us, the lead officer said. May I ask why? Imani replied, her voice steady. We've received reports of disruptive behavior and threats. That's false, Imani said. I've made no threats. The businessman stood. Officer, I've been across from her the entire flight. She's done nothing wrong. A woman in row 4 held up her phone, recording. This looks like racial profiling, and it's legal to record in California. More phones appeared, capturing the scene. The officers ignored the protests. Ma'am, you need to come with us now, the lead officer said. When Imani asked to speak to a supervisor, 2 officers grabbed her arms, yanking her from her seat. Her laptop clattered to the floor. Handcuffs snapped onto her wrists, applied so tightly they broke her skin, blood staining her blouse. Passengers shouted in protest, but the officers dragged her toward the exit, her heels catching on the carpet. Brenda watched from the galley, a smirk on her lips. In the terminal, hundreds watched as Imani was marched through in handcuffs, blood dripping from her wrist. She demanded to speak to a supervisor and call her attorney, but the officers dismissed her. As they approached a security room, Imani turned to the filming crowd, ensuring her face was visible, a calculated move to humanize her in the viral footage spreading online. Inside the interrogation room, Imani refused to sit until the handcuffs were removed. "I'm bleeding because these were applied with excessive force," she said firmly. Reluctantly, the officers complied. Through the door's window, she saw passengers from her flight gathering, still recording. The businessman shouted, "You can't detain her without cause." A college student's video, captioned, "Black female CEO dragged off American Skyways flight for literally nothing," went viral, shared thousands of times per minute. In the room, an officer slid a form across the table. "Sign this admission of disruptive behavior." "I'll sign nothing without my attorney," Imani replied. She dialed her CFO, Marcus Chen, on speaker. "Execute Protocol 7 regarding American Skyways. Effective immediately." "The entire $4 billion?" Marcus asked. "All of it," Imani confirmed. As she hung up, an airport administrator and an American Skyways executive entered. "Doa Reynolds, there's been a misunderstanding," the executive said. "We offer first-class accommodation on the next flight and compensation." Imani stood, her blood-stained blouse a stark contrast to her calm. "You call racial profiling, false accusations, and physical assault a misunderstanding? Your stock price is about to experience turbulence." Her phone rang. CEO Theodore Wilson. She declined the call, leaving bloody fingerprints on the screen. Drop a 1 in the comments if you think Imani was right to refuse their offer, or a 2 if you'd have considered it. Like and subscribe if you believe corporations must face consequences for discrimination. At American Skyways headquarters, Theodore Wilson raged in the boardroom. $4 billion gone because a flight attendant couldn't keep her prejudices in check. The stock was plummeting, and #boycott Americansky Ways trended nationwide. Brenda was summoned, trembling as she faced the executives. Wilson slid a document toward her. "Sign this. It says you were stressed and Dr. Reynolds did nothing wrong." "This makes it look like my fault," Brenda protested. "It was your fault," Wilson snapped. "Sign or you're liable for $500 million in damages." Brenda signed, but Wilson had no intention of using the document. Instead, he ordered a smear campaign, claim Imani was intoxicated and abusive, with doctored videos to prove it. His team dug for dirt on Imani, tax issues, personal scandals, research fraud, but found nothing. She was impeccable, Harvard-educated, widowed, a philanthropist, mentoring underprivileged youth. Frustrated, Wilson activated a special containment team of private investigators and media manipulators to destroy her reputation. Meanwhile, Imani faced GNN cameras in an airport conference room, her wrist bandaged but her resolve unbroken. She played her personal security recorder, capturing every moment of Brenda's actions and the officer's excessive force. "As a black woman in leadership, I've learned to document interactions," she explained. "This device has been on since a venture capitalist assaulted me 3 years ago and denied it." The anchor read American Skyways' counterstatement claiming Imani was intoxicated. "I don't drink alcohol," Imani said calmly. "Anyone who knows me can verify that." The audio evidence was irrefutable, and the airline stock fell 27%. #Justice for Imani trended globally. Then Brenda appeared on GNN, visibly coached. "Doa Reynolds exhibited behaviors consistent with intoxication," she stammered. Imani cut in. "Ms. Morrison, my recording played on national TV shows I was professional while you lied. Were you instructed to make false statements?" Brenda broke. "They said I'd lose everything if I didn't blame her." Her feed cut off, exposing the airline's coercion. American Skyways released a doctored video, but experts quickly exposed its flaws, further damaging their credibility. Imani's legal team, led by Elijah Montgomery, released passenger testimonials and her injury photos. Then, a bombshell, Catherine Lawson, a former executive, leaked Wilson's private server, revealing memos instructing crew to target well-dressed minorities and a point system rewarding discrimination. In court, Judge Eleanor Harrington rejected American Skyways' gag order request, allowing Imani to speak about her experience. But the airline intensified its attacks. Death threats arrived at Imani's office. Her daughter's school schedule was emailed to her with a chilling message, and Medtech's pharmaceutical partner pulled out, threatening her cancer treatment research. Imani faced a gut-wrenching choice: settle to save her research or fight on, risking lives. Then, Captain Sullivan's suicide note surfaced, detailing years of discriminatory practices. "We were trained to call certain passengers aggressive to justify our actions," he wrote. The airline stock hit historic lows. In a packed press conference, Imani presented Lawson's evidence, exposing a decade of corporate discrimination. The SEC launched a fraud investigation, and the DOJ formed a corporate civil rights division. Imani announced Medtech's consortium to buy American Skyway's assets in bankruptcy, transforming it into Skyway Renaissance Airlines with anti-discrimination policies and diverse leadership. 6 months later, Imani walked the first-class cabin of Skyway Renaissance's inaugural flight. In Seat 2A sat a young black girl heading to a science competition. "I want to be a doctor like you," she told Imani, describing her cancer treatment project. Imani invited her to visit Medtech's labs, planting a seed for the next generation. Brenda, now a trainer in the airline's anti-bias program, served the cabin with genuine care. Imani's $4 billion withdrawal had grown into a $10 billion investment, and her cancer trials were back on track. As chair of a presidential commission, she was reshaping corporate America. Dr. Imani Reynolds' story isn't just about one woman. It's about the systems we all navigate and the courage it takes to change them. Her foresight in recording her interactions, her refusal to be silenced, and her transformation of an airline show us that justice requires strategy, resilience, and collective action. What resonated with you most? Her composure, her rejection of settlements, or her vision for systemic change? Share in the comments. 1 for composure, 2 for rejecting the money, or 3 for transformation. Have you faced or witnessed discrimination in a place you deserved respect? Tell us your story. Hit like if you believe in a world where dignity is universal, and subscribe for more stories of triumph over injustice. Thank you for joining us. Let's keep pushing for a more just world together.